Hello everyone. I know I'm a few days late to the party on this one, but having started a channel mostly dedicated to Crysis modding, I couldn't resist the temptation to make a video about the 10-year anniversary of Crysis. In the opinion of most, Crysis represents the most revolutionary first-person gaming experience ever made, at least from a technical standpoint. Crysis was a technical masterpiece and a fantastic single-player game experience as well, and has stood the test of time like no other title ever. No game has made such a lasting impression on me personally as to inspire me to spend the next 10 years learning the tools needed to make mods for it. Crysis was released on November 13th, 2007 to critical acclaim, and its GPU-punishing graphical features brought all GPUs to their knees. This, of course, spawned the meme, but can it run Crysis? Which at the time was really a legitimate question, as there was hardly anything that could run this beast of an application at an acceptable frame rate. I was apparently a minority that had a PC that was capable of delivering a mostly playable frame rate with all the bells and whistles turned on, having dual NVIDIA GTX 8800 graphics cards running an SLI. Those cooling fans used to spin up to full blast the moment I started the game, and they would stay there the entire time I was running it. Crysis leveraged the graphical features of the Direct3D 10 API and featured some 85,000 shaders, something never attempted previously. In several interviews, I remember Savat Yurli of Crytek saying he wanted to make a game that would have benchmark quality graphics that would last for years to come. Well, that mission was certainly accomplished. The story of Crysis follows Raptor Team, made up of teammates Nomad, Jester, Aztec, Psycho, and squad leader Prophet. These Special Forces soldiers are equipped with state-of-the-art nano-combat armor suits that give the wearer abilities such as enhanced full-body armor, super speed, super strength, and cloak abilities. The team has been deployed to the Lingshan Islands, a fictional island chain in the Pacific Ocean belonging to the North Korean government. U.S. archaeologists in the region have sent a distress call around the same time the Korean People's Army, under the command of General Lee Jong-kyung, moves in and locks down the island. You play the role of Nomad, and after a quick brief on the situation unfolding below, you arrive in a C-17 and make a parachute jump with your squad when a mysterious interference smacks you and disables your parachute. You free fall to the ground and narrowly miss getting smashed into rocks, landing safely in water. Your nanosuit is temporarily disabled, and once your suit is re-enabled, the game starts and you begin your quest to regroup with your squad and proceed to your first mission objectives. Team member Aztec is killed by a mysterious force at the beginning of the game, and a couple of missions later, Jester is killed in a similar fashion by a large floating blue tentacled monster. The scene before the death of Jester is one that sticks out for many players when the group finds a large sea vessel flash frozen laying on its side right in the middle of the jungle, and Jester asks, "Since when do the North Koreans have themselves a motherfucking freeze ray?" This quote sets the tone for many of the events to follow. Crysis was loved by just about all who played it. However, some liked the beginning of the game, but disliked the later alien levels and more scripted gameplay. I personally really never understood this. Yes, the game starts allowing the player to have full freedom in playstyle and pick their route and tactics, but the later on-rails scenes were very well done, in my opinion, and served to enhance the story unfolding in ways that wouldn't really be possible with the open gameplay of previous levels. If you simply let yourself be immersed in the game story, you'll find that it tells a very cohesive tale that is plausible to a certain degree. If an alien discovery really was made in real life and there was a technological superiority to be gained from it, I could absolutely see governments going to war over it as depicted in the game. Eventually, Nomad fights his way through KPA soldiers, starts an airstrike on a Korean naval ship, fights through a huge valley in a tank battle, and eventually ends up in the alien mothership that the US and Korean armies are fighting over. All of these environments are well thought out and a blast to play through. The sheer scale in some of them are amazing, and the level of detail is something that is rarely seen even now. The final cutscenes are very well done and mostly made in first person. The captain of the lead aircraft carrier of the U.S. fleet in the region, under advisements from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, makes a decision to nuke the mothership, which turns out to be a huge mistake because it just makes the aliens that much more powerful. A bit cliche plot point here, but the presentation is so well done it really doesn't matter all that much. A huge alien battleship shows up and starts laying waste to Allied ships in the fleet, and after you disable its guns with an experimental weapon created to interface with your nanosuit, it crashes into the ocean and creates a large singularity which sucks in all the ships in the US fleet, destroying them all. You and the main character archaeologist you rescued, Dr. Helena Rosenthal, escape in a VTOL and head back to the island when the game ends. A year later, the standalone expansion Crysis Warhead was launched, which follows teammate Psycho, who you meet several times throughout the course of Crysis. The events of Warhead have Psycho chasing a different Korean military commander, Colonel Lee. Lee is captured an alien in a type of holding container, and Psycho spends the rest of the game trying to get this back from the Koreans before the Koreans evac the alien off the island and send it to Korea for reverse engineering. A revised version of the CryEngine 2 looked fantastic and played a bit better than the original game due to improvements in engine optimization. Some of the later levels, especially the train level, are absolutely incredible, and the cutscenes are lengthy and really great in this game. Which brings us to the sequels. The later games completely ditched the open gameplay that made the first two a legendary success and decided instead to cater to the lowest common denominator in the graphics department as well. This made the games, quote, more accessible to console hardware. The later games also had their gameplay watered down to make them more, quote, appealing to a wider audience, end quote, by, among other things, reducing the nanosuit power options to 2, and because of this, Crysis 2 and 3, in my opinion, were essentially soulless husks of game that completely lacked everything that made the first games great. The stories of both games were so contrived, they were extremely hard to follow, and had very little to do with the original game. Crysis 3 wasn't as bad as Crysis 2, but it still lacked the openness and cohesiveness of the original, and by the time Crysis 3 came out, the damage had already been done. Gamers no longer trusted Crytek to make a good Crysis game. Crytek made some equally bad decisions around the same time, including the disastrous Rise launch on the Xbox, catering to the console market and throwing the PC gaming enthusiast market that made them famous under the bus cost them dearly, and they almost lost the company as a result. CryEngine 3 and beyond were all a commercial success, but just how much so is still open to debate. Crytek has always excelled at making great engines and will continue to do so. Crytek lost many employees while going through their hard times, and I wish them well. I just hope they decide to refocus on their strengths and make some great games that push the barriers like Crysis did in the future. Hell, I'd even play a remastered Crysis if done right. Those are just a few of my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.